You mean Sagittarius can be both about war and religion?
The angels have left this time.
Welcome back to Astrology by 33, where ancient astrology is made young again. It's an honor to have you here today. The mission here is to revive lost teachings in order to help you grow and to realize the great potential sleeping within you. This is about discovering the truth in astrology and weeding out the rest. Know your past so that you can know your future by using the science of light. Today is all about the sign of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is one of the 12 constellations in the zodiac. Something that's really important for people to understand is that if you're a Sagittarius, you don't want to think that you're only a certain way. If you follow Western astrology, being a Sagittarius means that your sun is actually in the sign of Sagittarius. In Vedic astrology, you'll find that Sagittarius takes on a completely different meaning when the moon enters the sign. When all the different planets enter Sagittarius, you're going to get different results. Remember, all the planets are inside of you, not just the sun. We don't want to put all of our attention exclusively on the sun or the moon, although they're very good indications as to how we'll experience the world and how others will see us from the outside. This video talks about the energetic nature and magnetism that the sign of Sagittarius actually stands for. It's good to understand the energy of a sign before you know how the planets will express themselves in that sign. Just keep in mind you have other planets working in your body, making you uniquely you. So let's talk about Sagittarius. What is it? What does it represent? What is the magnetism of Sagittarius? You want to think of each sign as a magnet. There are 12 signs, and each magnet will only attract very specific things. For example, a regular magnet as you know it won't attract a tennis ball. So the sign of Sagittarius will only attract and make certain things in your life appear. This can show up as different qualities, objects, or events. Even in people, you can see unique differences depending on the sign. Sagittarius is the natural ruler of the 9th house in astrology. We find that Sagittarius rules over the shape of a bow. When you look in your environment, know that when you see the shape of an arc, for example, something like a rainbow in the sky, the shape of that arc, that is a Sagittarius thing. If you look at the zodiac wheel, and if you cut that circle in half and look at the top half, there's a middle point that goes straight up into the sky. Basically, we're in a little dome here on Earth, and there's a big arch overhead. It arcs from horizon to horizon, and right at the top is the peak of the arch. This arch shape is ruled by Sagittarius. And when we look at the wheel of the zodiac, the sign of Sagittarius itself comes right up to that middle point in the arch. If you're shooting an arrow or you're throwing a ball, you'll notice that when you throw it up, it falls down in the shape of an arc. This arcing energy is ruled by Sagittarius. It's a softer, longer, and curved energy. The symbol for Sagittarius shows us that the top half is a man and the lower half is a horse. The half-man portion is holding a bow, and this bow is meant to be used as a weapon. This sign is very powerful in the way that we can see that it's half animal and half man. And this represents humanity evolving gradually out of the animal kingdom, out of animal consciousness, into higher evolutionary consciousness that the half-man actually stands for. The half-man is holding a bow and arrow, and he's focused, he's concentrated. He has evolved his consciousness from the carnal, lower animal desires into the higher, refined consciousness of humanity. instead of being ruled by his lower animal nature, which includes slavery to the senses, full of desires, full of sensory lust, he's able to pull himself out of that and to refine and collect his consciousness to a concentrated point, just like the arrow that helps him to set goals, to focus his attention on that which he wants to manifest. It's important to understand that you have all the constellations in the zodiac in your body. If you identify with Sagittarius, just remember you have all the other 11 constellations in your body, and they are very much a part of you, and it's good for all of us to understand all the signs. We are the entire zodiac. For example, Aries is at the top of your head, Taurus is in your face, and going down you have Gemini in your arms, etc., etc., the last sign of Pisces being in your feet. The sign of Sagittarius is located in your thighs. It includes your actual hip sockets. It includes the femur bone. Sagittarius does not include your knees. That's important to remember. It's just the thighs. Sagittarius is a land-based sign. Locations on Earth that hold strong Sagittarius energy include areas where vehicles are parked for war. This includes battle transportation. Back in the old days of war, it was where they kept their horses. It's the place where soldiers sleep in preparation for battle. And many people actually don't know this about Sagittarius. It holds the energy of a battlefield. It's a war zone. It includes the living quarters for soldiers and barracks, military bases, war vehicles, involvement with war in general. And Sagittarius represents advanced skills and technology in war. It's war precision. This is war with a refined human consciousness behind it. For example, we know Hitler had Jupiter in Sagittarius, and that shows a very powerful energy in war technology. He was known for battle, being well studied and having a higher knowledge of war. That's a Sagittarius thing. Now, the first half of Sagittarius tends to be more malefic. The first half has more of a battle and war type energy. But on the other hand, you'll see that the last half of Sagittarius holds a happier energy that's associated with wealth and luck and prosperity and all the good things that most people think of when they think of Sagittarius. But we have to remember it's a dual sign. It's half animal and it's half man. Sagittarius supports areas that are dry and without water. And other places on Earth that are tied to Sagittarius include royal places like palaces, mansions, places where royalty lives. The sign is masculine. It's considered fierce or malefic and active. For those of you working on your manifestation, it's good to know that Sagittarius is stronger at nighttime. You'll see it show up much better at night as compared to daytime. The color that's tied to Sagittarius is generally yellow, but it's not necessarily that bright, happy yellow. It's a yellow tone. Just think of the color of leather. It can be light tan, like the color of brown rice. And it can even range from light brown to orange. It includes a lot of colors that you see during the sunset, very warm, and just the color of gold in general, that holds a strong Sagittarius energy. The direction in space assigned to Sagittarius is east. It's a Sattvic sign, so it holds a very centered, peaceful, pure, and calm energy in general. The element that is linked to Sagittarius is fire. It's a royal sign. It has grand and magnificent qualities. Materials on Earth that correspond to Sagittarius include very strong things like iron and steel are directly linked to Sagittarius. And it's important to remember that if we move forward in the zodiac, the last sign was Scorpio, and Scorpio is all about destruction and wiping things out, destroying everything so that we can start over from ground zero. So now that we've experienced the total wipeout destruction of Scorpio, we enter Sagittarius now. And what do you do after everything gets wiped out in your life? When things are destroyed and you're starting from ground zero, what are you going to do? You have to build something new. And so these building blocks of iron and steel are very strong in the Sagittarius department. These are major building blocks for skyscrapers, car engines, farm equipment, etc. So any place that has a lot of iron or steel, just think Sagittarius. This sign has an energy that promotes expansion and growth from point zero. It's all about starting with strong structure, and that's what iron and steel are. This is both literal and symbolic. Sagittarius is all about the beginning of human civilization. It's about rising up out of the animal nature, like we said earlier, into an evolved human nature. And we know that civilization starts with learning and building up of society. So this literally includes the creation of buildings and starting something brand new. It's getting a new start to life. And you can't start a new life unless you build something, right? So if you've hit ground zero in your life, the natural energy of the next step for you to take is to decide, what are you going to build? And whatever you build, remember it needs to be very strong. You don't want to build a house out of toothpicks. We all know how big Jupiter is. And Jupiter is the ruling planet of Sagittarius. This is the first time Jupiter actually shows up in the zodiac. This is the 9th sign, and Jupiter is very high consciousness. It's so high that the human mind actually cannot conceive its inherent energy. In its pure form, it holds consciousness above the veil where source energy resides. So we know that Jupiter rules this sign, and so when Jupiter comes into the sign of Sagittarius, you have a home run. It's a win-win. Jupiter does very well here because he's at home. Now, most people know Sagittarius for this. It holds the energy that rules over a person's actions that are in alignment with natural law. It has the energy to help people act in ways that promote peace, harmony, order, truth, and supportive life for all. So basically, like if a mother sees a baby crying, natural law would be to feed the baby, as opposed to throwing the baby in the trash can. That would not be acting in alignment with natural law. And we all kind of instinctively know what this natural law is. We don't have to write it in a book. It's an unspoken universal agreement of that which is right and good. Sagittarius is in charge of the path of righteousness. It supports working towards a spiritual goal. There's a quality of sacredness and virtue in this sign. It holds the energy of all good things, good works, integrity, honesty. When you're trying to do the right thing, that's a Sagittarius thing. It stands for a person's values and morals and their ethical actions. It helps us to show respect to others, and it's all about the way a person treats another person. That includes kind acts, compassion, and one's behavior to other people in general. It holds the energy of truth. Now, everyone knows Sagittarius to stand for your guru. So the guru is found here, and that also includes the father figure in general. That can be someone with wisdom, great depth of knowledge, and they'll be of profound learning and experience in general. a master is found in Sagittarius. The sign also rules over teachers or people who have mastery in certain subjects in general. That can be your professors at university. And going right along with that theme, Sagittarius rules over higher education. All scholarly work is found here, so that's college, advanced degrees, specialized knowledge, technical schools, and even knowledge of hidden matters. This isn't basic education, this is the good stuff. And moving more into the spiritual realm, you'll see spiritual leaders here, pastors, elders, deacons at your church, priests, popes, ministers, all of that. That is exactly a Sagittarius thing. It's also tied to royalty. So Sagittarius can represent a minister to a king. It can hold ties to those with status, elite families, those with dignity, and it holds the energy where you can be respected by those in authority. Like advisors to the king, that is Sagittarius. And that's because you're full of wisdom and specialized knowledge. This sign rules over self-discipline and control, and it supports cutting off the comforts of materialism for the sake of spiritual growth. It supports those who are willing to experience discomfort and pain for the sake of growth in order to toughen up and to strengthen and sharpen the mind, to refine the willpower, and to reduce weakness, basically. These are all human qualities as compared to animal qualities. You see, humans have more self-discipline than animals, and we have more awareness about it in general as well. So examples of this could be fasting, denying yourself of food in order to increase the magnetism and spiritual energy in your body. Those who observe Lent, that is a Sagittarius thing. Or like when you wake up in the morning and splash freezing cold water in your face right before meditation, that's a Sagittarius thing. Those who renounce the physical comforts and choose to sleep on a hard floor for the sake of decreasing your dependency on physical comforts, this sign is in charge of that. So it's not being a slave to our senses, it's having patience and higher mind to conquer the physical vessel and to have full control over the senses by self-denial. Very important. And we know we're working with a fire sign, and this fire is meant to heat us up in order to purify us, to make us a little uncomfortable for the sake of purification and for spiritual evolution. It's about sacrifice and self-denial for the sake of growth, improvement, and doing the right thing. We know that Sagittarius is in charge over riches and wealth, property, cars, that kind of prosperity in general. Now, it's not the stuff like you have in Taurus. This is your overall prosperity in your life. It includes fortunate and lucky things. It's your destiny to be happy based on your past actions and karma. Sagittarius represents the good karma that's due to you based on past lives and even the stuff you've done in this life. If you were kind and good and generous to people in the past, then that's the energy that's going to come back to you, and Sagittarius will show that. So Sagittarius is all about the good and pleasant things in your life, the good stuff coming to you. It promotes success in things, and this is what people know Sagittarius for. It's all the good stuff. You'll find charity, giving money and food to poor people in Sagittarius, worship of divinity and gods in general. That is all assigned to Sagittarius, which includes the places where people worship, like churches, temples, mosques, etc. And for this reason, it's linked to spiritual text and most definitely religion. Everyone knows Sagittarius for religion. But remember, it's a very high consciousness energy because Jupiter rules it. So you'll find the really advanced spiritual practices here in Sagittarius. Things like prayer, hardcore devotion, meditation, japa, yoga, kriya yoga, being initiated into higher practices. These kinds of things Sagittarius is in charge of. That includes mental purification and acting in ways that lead to enlightenment. A person's grandchildren can also be seen from this sign. You can also find long-distance travel and spiritual journeys in particular, like when you go on a pilgrimage to visit a shrine. Now, it's been said that when the moon travels through the entire zodiac, God is testing us in each commandment. And we all have heard about the 10 commandments. Now, the 9th commandment says, do not bear false witness. And we know that Sagittarius, being the 9th sign, is all about truth. This commandment says, don't say things about people that aren't true. What is also interesting is that we find this commandment in Exodus chapter 20, verse 16, and when we add 20 plus 16 and condense the numbers in numerology, you get 9. Is that a coincidence for the 9th zodiac sign and the 9th commandment? It's all about truth. If you want to look deeper into this sign, determine which house it's in as well. Your house placement will make your reading precise, specific, and individualized to you. That will give you way more information than just understanding the sign alone. In future videos, I'll be going over what it's like when your sun or your moon goes through Sagittarius specifically. Today was just about understanding Sagittarius in general, what it stands for, and the magnetism it can draw into your life. If you'd like to see more astrology videos from this channel, you can click subscribe below. And for more insight, you can visit astrologyby33.com. And as always, please remember to only use astrology as a guideline, not to use it as something that rules your life. You rule your own life and are given the gift of free will. You are more powerful than what is written in your horoscope. With proper knowledge of the zodiac comes power to understand your path. If we want to overcome the magnetism and negative influence of the planets in our lives, the daily practice of Kriya Yoga is strongly encouraged in order to dissolve and burn off our past evil negative karma that gets stored in our spine. The kingdom is within you, and that includes all the zodiac signs. With God, all things are possible. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time. God bless.
The angel